Can the Roos bounce their way back into the contest, or will the Dons continue their dominance? Let's go back to Marvel Stadium for Good Friday football.
Great to have your company on this Good Friday on 3AW, coming to you from Marvel Stadium, North Melbourne, trailing Essendon at the main break by 53 points. 13-11-89 the Bombers, North Melbourne 4-12-36. Of course, today is all about raising money for the Royal Children's Hospital Good Friday appeal. That number that you need to know, 1300 277 325 or 1300 appeal. You can also jump online, goodfridayappeal.com.au, and our very own Tom Morris a few moments ago caught up with the executive director of the Good Friday appeal, Anne Randall.
Yeah, we've got the Executive Director of the Good Friday Appeal, Anne Randall, down here. What a fantastic occasion this is.
This is wonderful. The atmosphere here is just amazing, and I'm so grateful for everyone turning up at the game and everyone giving so generously to the Good Friday Appeal. And it's a good match too. I'm really enjoying it.
It must be great to see so many people through the turnstiles, and which of course adds to the dollars that you're going to raise for such an amazing cause.
That's right. I've heard people say that the Good Friday Appeal is as Melbourne as football, and I think it's really good that the two are together, and I just think it's wonderful that the Bombers have come on board this year. I am a Bomber supporter, I must admit, but it's just wonderful to have the two clubs here, and I hope people continue to give generously. They can still go online, goodfridayappeal.com.au, and donate generously.
Until tonight, presumably, as well.
Yeah, I will close proceedings at about, midnight, close to that, and I hope we get a very good total today.
Thanks, Anne. Any messages for your Bombers?
Go Bombers!
Thanks very much for having a chat to us.
Thank you.
Anne Randall, the Executive Director of the Good Friday Appeal, and 3AW will be with you right through the night. Simon Owens and Philip Brady broadcasting live from the plenary at the Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre as we look to pass that $18 million target in 2019. Before Matt Granlund, Matthew Lloyd, Tony Shaw.
Shorey, what about this for a stat? And Damo, our producer, just tapped me on the shoulder and said, have a look at this. Ben Cunnington, 19 disposals, -2 metres gained.
Yeah.
So he's had 4 kicks, 15 handballs, but it just sums up North Melbourne. That's Cunnington's game. He's probably handballing it back out to a player, but just the game, the lack of speed has just been, and they knew that. They addressed it. They went Pittard, they went Pollock, and they also went Aaron Hall in the off-season, but they've been exposed really badly, haven't they?
No doubt about that, and even their good players aren't covering the ground. Like Sean Higgins, 171 metres gained, like you said. He should be up to the 400s, 500s.
There's a few metres gained there for Cunnington. He got the centre clearance to start the quarter. It was a good mark for Ambrose. A couple of bites, and got one of the mush on the way through as well.
And Jack Zeeble still forward. Sure, you would have thought they'd try something.
Hooker it is back there, in fact, Lloydie.
Yeah, it is. Him and Hurley, again, been extremely solid, but they've had a good day. Nice time to be a defender against this ball movement of North.
Hooker's kick through the hands that time of Stringer. Pollock. Now Pittard. His kicking's been ordinary this afternoon. He kicks that one to Ben Brown, who should be taking the free kick there. He's pulled down by Sard in the marking contest, and Ben Brown will go back and line up from 48 metres.
Some are asking, has he made more of it? A bit of a hush in the crowd. No doubt it was a free kick. Just whether he put a bit more mayonnaise on it, but we see the last
You're not suggesting the F word, are you, Matthew?
What's that?
Flopping?
Yeah, possibly, but...
he had his arm held. There was a free kick every minute.
Yeah. And just on this, he shanked his last one from about this range. Had to work extremely hard for his kicks, Ben Brown, so he'd love this one.
Run-up starts almost at the wing for Ben Brown. As he moves in, he's going to kick from about 49 metres. To start the quarter for the Kangaroos, on its way, and Brown's missed that one as well. Well, a great day for Ben Brown in front of goal. The margin 52 points in favour of the Bombers.
Final quarter for Dominic Alafasi and the team at Collins House. Get on their website now, collinshouse.com, for whatever you may be saving for. collinshouse.com as the ball goes back inside defensive 50 for the Bombers from Guelphy, and almost at full-back, Cale Hooker. The Bombers to the Lockett end. Hooker brings it out now to the city side of the ground. Low trajectory kick. Bounced up for Turner. Little handball to Higgins. Gave it back to Turner. Kick inside 50. After 5 metres, it was taken by Aaron Hall. His high ball almost hits the roof. Lands just outside the goal square. And Cale Hooker, too big, too strong for Jack Zeeble. Takes the mark at left half back. The mark is taken by Guelphy for the Bombers.
Wants to go Guelphy too. Got on to Dylan Shield, who kicks it to Danaher. He gets his hands on the footy a little bit, just draws the man, he gives it back to Dylan Shield. Again, that kick ordinary, just sort of flopped along the ground that time, so footy up for grabs. Tarrant is able to take it for North Melbourne. Handball to Cunnington, handball backwards to Pittard. Pittard now kick to the middle, a bold one, but Sard was able to knock it away from Mason Wood. Comes to Mitch Brown. Mitch Brown, a high ball to half forward. Fantasia is out there with Jamont. The footy gets away from both of them, and it's over the boundary line, and we're going to have a throw in just outside the 50. Bombers by 52, so just outside their 50, we're going to have this throw in. And it's going to be Bellchambers and Goldstein to engage again in the ruck. Goldstein able just to slap it down. Higgins able to dart away from that stoppage. Handball to Turner, who was flat-footed, to Cunnington. Back to Turner. That was an interesting kick. Creative kick. Got it to Dumont, who takes the mark half back and holds for a moment.
So now moves forward, pulls the trigger, and Simpkin takes the mark. Still defensive side of centre wing, city side of the ground. North Melbourne 4-13-37. Essendon 13-11-89. Final quarter of 3AW Good Friday footy for Collins House. Anderson, so prolific in the first quarter. Hardly sighted since. Cunnington knocked it away from Heppel to his own advantage. Gave it back to Simpkin. Little chip into the centre of the ground to Higgins. Higgins now loads on the right. Brown pushed out of the contest by Hooker. No free kick. Ball comes down to Zerha. Handball. Polek splits the seas. Flying shot at goal. Misses to the near side and another minor score. North Melbourne this afternoon have kicked 4 goals, 14. Essendon 13-11.
Ball back into play. Dyson Heppel has it. Just slows it down and then chips it to Darcy Parish. Check his numbers at the moment, Darcy Parish. Talked about him a bit earlier, Lloydie. He switches the play, goes out to Hurley. He's had a little bit of the footy.
No, he'd be concerned. Obviously, Zaharakis and Smith to come back Anzac Day. He's had the 13 disposals today.
He picked up a little bit in the second half, but a reasonably quiet day, and he's made a few errors too, Darcy Parish. So that'll be an interesting call to make for Anzac Day. Short to Hurley as they just flick it around the back half the Bombers. Now Sard likes to run with the football. Instead he goes short to McKenna. He also just thought about trying to run off with it and thinks better of it. Goes back over his mark. Uses a lot of time up. Kicks out to the city side wing. Interception was there. Ben Brown knocked it down to Anderson. Back to Brown. Dumont caught by McKenna. Got the handball out. Merritt able to take it. Handball McKenna. McKenna now goes short to Bagley. Have to really lunge at that football. He takes it. Never slips catch. Just forward of the wing as the Bombers surging. Half forward it goes. Fantasia right through his fingers that time. He's able to keep it alive though, Fantasia. Hard up against the boundary line. Slides one inside 50 into the forward pocket. Big Bellchambers. Handball. Stringer loves the goal. Jake Stringer. And when he sees a chance, he takes it. He's got 2 goals. Jake Stringer, and the Bombers move to 14-11-95 at North Melbourne, 4-14-38. And that's on the Collins House online investment scoreboard.
Well, you won't be using that as a best advertisement for great AFL football, let me tell you, from both sides. Just short kicking, missing targets from 10 metres. But, North, they pay a price, North, because even Pittard then, he fumbled in the back half. He had the run of the ball. He had no pressure around him. There's bodies around, but you've got to know that you can perform under that pressure. And that fumble caused the goal to Essendon. So you've got to move those players out of that area of the ground, and I think either onto a wing or something like that if he's going to play a lot more football.
Yeah, he's had a poor day, and how Fantasia got out of that traffic on the boundary, drops the sitter. Just the pace again and being badly exposed for North.
Essendon may well inflict North Melbourne its biggest ever defeat against the Bombers here at what has been Telstra Dome, Etihad Stadium, Marvel Stadium.
Well, you're going to go it.
Joe Danaher marks from the clearance. Sure. Well, the man on the mark is at the edge of the centre square, so Joe would have to kick every bit of 57, 58 metres here. Lloydie?
Yeah, he has to go a top. I reckon there's nothing worse than a long drop punt that you hook or lands on the goal line and gets punched through.
Is there something that if he kicks it from 60 metres out, they donate more money to the Royal Children's Hospital? Because I tell you what, he said about going for it. He's launched with the drop punt. It's got the carry! Oh, Joe! Welcome back! Welcome back to footy. That is as good as it gets, folks. 60 metres out, no hesitation, backs himself in. Joe Danaher with a goal of the day for Kennards Hire.
Well, I didn't think he could make that range. I thought that he would go across the face of goal and get touched through on the line, but good on him. He'd be fatigued playing his first game in, 340 days, and he's kicked goal number 2. So, as we said, what can they get out of this game? And it's getting a few touches to Big Joey. So that's now 2 goals. Everyone's played their part. Fantastic.
And he jumped for joy too.
He did. Yeah, big T-Bell. Tommy Bell Chambers threw him into the air.
Loved it, Joe Danaher. Just getting a bit of confidence up for Anzac Day. We're back in the middle. Higgins was able to get a toe poke to half forward for the Bombers. Redmond, good work. Couldn't get a clear kick away. Ahern to Anderson in traffic. And now Higgins, he was under pressure, so got the kick, but it's a high one. Half forward for North Melbourne. Hurley was able to kick it straight to Higgins. Higgins is going to unload from just outside the 50 for the Kangaroos. And Ambrose got back there at the death and was able to take the mark on the very last line of defence for the Bombers. So Ambrose goes out. Danaher chock full of confidence. Going to launch himself at that. Didn't get anywhere near it really in the finish. Anderson now placed it inside the 50. Redmond can't take it. Parrish tried to scoop it up at ground level. Came to Zeeble. And Zeeble's little dinky kick goes to Ben Brown. I thought it may have been touched off the boot in that traffic. It wasn't. And Brown takes the mark, and he'll go back and line up for his second.
He's fought pretty hard, Ben Brown. He took a lot of marks up the field earlier in the game, and now he's getting a few looks as the Bombers have dropped off, probably a little bit in their pressure. Good players find a way to get opportunities, but Ben Brown's been wasteful so far today. What's he got? 1 goal, 1, missed a couple on the full, those sort of things. So this is one you should not miss because of key forward.
Yep, and he's going to kick from 45 metres, just left of centre, the angle. Moves in, Ben Brown, and makes no mistake with that one. So 2 goals for Big Ben Brown this afternoon, and North Melbourne move to 5-14-44, Essendon 15-11 at 101, that 10-minute mark. Final quarter, 3AW footy for Maccas.
Well, I tell you, Shane, you mentioned before that they've kicked 5 goals, 14, but if they want to hang their hat on bad kicking's cost them this game, there's something really wrong, because most of the time they've had wide or really shallow entries in the 50. So, Lee Matthews used to tell us every 10 metres out, you lose the chance of conversion by about 5 to 7%, and that's where they are at the moment. So they're getting some cheap ones at the end of this game, but the questions have to be asked. What style do they play? What do they hang their hat on as a team? And what's happened to their midfield, because they have been smashed today.
Tom Morris, you've got a Good Friday AFL update.
Yeah, I do, Shane, and what a terrific thing this is. $7,008,839 is the update as of 6:30, which was 1 minute ago. Terrific.
Got a warning here. We had a warning, non-position warning. Just pay the free kick and let's get it.
Couldn't agree more. If teams don't know it by now, they're never going to know it. To save them too from exploiting the system and potentially getting away with someone out of their 6-6-6 position, which I'm sure could happen. Merrick, middle of the ground, just could only knock it on as far as Goldstein. Goldstein to Cunnington to Davies Uniacke from 35 metres out, misses off to the left. North Melbourne 5-15-45, Essendon 15-11, 101. By the way, the two sides will be auctioning their jumpers on their respective club websites. You can make a bid for those.
Oh, intercept.
Yeah, ball back into play, and Mason Wood is able to take the mark. So he's going to go back and line up. Doc Reed is on screen on our monitor here. Matty, he's had his health issues, and he's here watching the Bombers this afternoon, which is great to see a club stalwart at the footy.
Yeah, doing extremely well. Played golf with about 15 Bomber players during the week, so fantastic to see. He's got the energy to get back on his feet at the moment.
Here's Mason Wood with the kick. Way offline, way out to the right-hand side and through for a minor score in the Collins House online scoreboard. They go to 46. The Bombers are 101.
Kick in. Almost marked by Hooker. Couldn't quite bring it down. Guelphy's there. They have a little handball off. Heppel. Now the kick up towards centre wing. Sam Wright put his head over the ball. Couldn't trap it. Came out to Fantasia. Fantasia to the AFL logo. To Merritt. Back to Fantasia. Happy to kick it across half back, and the ball bounces up nicely for Redmond. Has the support of Hurley. That's where the handball goes. Hurley sends it back out to the city wing. Redmond kept running, gets away from Zeeble, and now sends the ball up toward right half forward. Jasper Pittard tried to go backwards. Meanwhile, his opponent, Mitch Brown, just saw the Sharon flying straight to him and took the most easy of marks in the end.
Just an amazing stat on the Roos set shot goal kicking. They've kicked 5 goals, 16 for the day, but they've had 13 set shots, kicked 1 goal, 12 from set shots. Just that Ben Brown in the last quarter is their only set shot goal.
Mitch Brown with a couple of goals this afternoon. This one on its way. He's got a third. They continue to come for the Bombers, and for a side that was 0-2 and the Sharks circling for John Worsfold, the Bombers are going to record their 3rd win on the trot, and this will be the biggest of all those ahead of a massive Anzac Day clash next Thursday against the Magpies. The Bombers are 16-11, 107. North Melbourne are 5-16, 46. All that on the Collins House online investment scoreboard.
Sure, I got a question for you.
Yep.
These are the teams outside of the 8. Hawthorn, Western Bulldogs, Port Adelaide, Essendon, Richmond, Adelaide, Sydney, Melbourne, North and Carlton. Do you think, along with Richmond, Essendon has the biggest upside? Or, where we just...
I just think they can be scored against, so that's
Bombers?
it. Yeah, I still think they can be scored against because they play that ballistic style. But, yeah, I think they've got a great upside. I picked them to play in finals this year, and I think it'd be disappointing if they didn't with the talent that they brought into the club too.
They'll be well inside the 8 tonight. They're actually 5th on the wide ladder at the moment, the Bombers. Here's Myers, got it out in the wing. Kicks it to half forward. Jake Stringer waiting for it. And he's able to take the mark. Comfortably put the stop sign up. We're going to go back and line him up.
Well, I'm just watching Kane Turner there. Now, if he's on Jake Stringer, that's a horrible matchup. But he just got caught in no man's land, watched the ball, and Jake Stringer went backwards. Just an easy setup for a player to go backwards, running backwards into the forward 50. Horrible defensive play.
Sorry. Yarra Valley and Croydon had a replay. Just you wouldn't want to watch that on Monday, Kane Turner.
So Stringer, he's already got 2. Comes in from 49. Starts at the left. Comes back a little bit. Not enough, and through for another minor score. 52 points the margin in favour of Essendon on the Collins House online investment scoreboard.
So midway through this final quarter, the match is done. It's just a matter of how much damage the Bombers can do. And we said midway through the 3rd term, Lloydie, that North Melbourne just needed to show something on the scoreboard to, I guess, ease the heat on them and the coach, Brad Scott, going into this weekend, and that hasn't happened.
No, it hasn't happened. And it's sort of, they look like a bottom 4 team, no doubt about that, the way they're playing. They got Port Adelaide on that big Friday night again next week as well.
Zerha, his handball only as far as Dyson Heppel, who slams it on the left boot. Kicks to half forward, but Jamie McMillan takes the mark at right half back for the Kangaroos. Don't forget, after our coverage here, we'll be taking you to the plenary at the Convention and Exhibition Centre, where Simon Owens and Phil Brady will take you through to midnight for the night session of the Good Friday Appeal, as we look to reach that target and beat that target of $18 million. We'll be on air until just after 7 o'clock. Plenty of time for your calls and to wrap up Good Friday here at Marvel Stadium.
Ball thrown back into play. Danaher just edged his man under the footy that time and gave away the free. What have you thought of him overall, Joe Lloydie?
Oh, he's been serviceable. He's looked like a man who hasn't played for a long time. That's what you'd expect, Matty. He hasn't played for a year, so to kick a couple of goals and contribute, he'd be happy with that. But what a big stage, Anzac Day.
Yeah.
When he's coming up against some of those guys like Darcy Moore rebounding off him.
Yeah. I'm thinking,
Langdon,
I would say this seriously, that I think Collingwood would rather him play.
Yeah.
And look, he's a good player, but to have not played so much footy in a big game like that, I think they wouldn't be worried too much about it, I would think.
62 points the margin. Ball thrown back into play. Higgins to Cunnington. Cunnington handball out the back door to right. Into the kick. It was touched, so it'll be play on to Scott, who copped it straight up to Danaher. Merritt back by hand to Hooker. Hooker goes back to Hurley almost. Getting there, Zeeble to put a spoil on. Hurley was able to clean the mess up. Handball Ridley. And then he goes looking for Ambrose, and just wide of the mark of him and tumbling out. And we'll have a throw in 50 around for the Kangaroos goal.
Jack Zeeble, 5 possessions. 5 possessions. 3 tackles. Has not hit the scoreboard, I don't think.
So boundary throw in across left half forward for the Kangaroos. As Higgins short into the middle, wanted McMillan, got Heppel instead, and now McDonald, Woody takes one bounce, tries to get around his opponent, does a little pirouette, now has space, delivers inside 50. But straight onto the chest of Scott Thompson for North Melbourne, 30 out from his defensive goal. Kicks into the corridor, McMillan out to the wing, and Bailey Scott, the rising star from round one, onto the chest of Aaron Hall, the former Gold Coaster, still a good 65 from home into the right forward pocket. Zeeble marks, plays on against the boundary line, squares it to the top of the goal square. Cunnington marks, plays on and goes. Very little celebration from the players and very little acknowledgement from the fans, it's fair to say, on what is a North Melbourne home game. North Melbourne 6-16, 52. Essendon 16-12, 108. It's fair to say they've got the crowd here this afternoon, gents, 47,000, but does performance have anything to do with whether or not North Melbourne gets this game next year? Because that's the only thing that would cost them.
Shane, I was only thinking about that myself in my head about it. I remember we had 3 years in a row where we embarrassed ourselves on Anzac Day, and the club came to us and said how significant the next one was. And I remember, I think it was the Zaharakis goal, 2009, where we got up and won. We've been really struggling before that period, and so it does. The club feels that heat, and North Melbourne, they're on Friday night next week too. They won't get these games playing in this fashion.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And come off the back, I mean, Brisbane was sort of in the same boat a little bit last night as well, weren't they? They were on the big stage on Broadway, and North Melbourne have flopped their lines today, just like Brisbane did last night. So the Bombers have got possession again. I reckon this young kid's been all right. On debut. As he kicks the half forward. No mark to Thompson. He goes at it at ground level. It's just inside the 50 for the Bombers. Anderson is there. Jamont fires it out the back door. Oh, McMillan. He was almost tackled by McDonald Tippenwood. He just got his kick away in the nick of time. Jamont under pressure. Bombers continuing to flex their muscle in that forward half. Here's Brown. He tries to bust his way through the tackle. Eventually the umpire calls for it. He'll have a ball up just outside the 50.
I was just watching there. The centre bounce, you had young Cameron Zurhaar in the ruck against Bell Chambers. You know, at least Benny Brown, he's starting to kick a couple goals. That's when the game's over. He should be doing that work. And the kid, he nearly hurt his knee at that when he fell over.
Quick kick, top of the goal square. Bombers, and it's off hands and over for a rushed behind. The margin 57 points in favour of Essendon. We've got 6:44 left to play.
Essendon's biggest ever win against North Melbourne here at Docklands, 55 points. As Matty said, it's currently 57 as Merritt short to Shield, who's been wonderful this afternoon. Didn't go the required distance. The former Giant forced to play on, launches on the left, Danaher flies in the goal square, but spoiled by Robbie Tarrant. And another minus score to the Bombers. They lead by 58.
Yeah, I know we've talked about him a lot, but I think it's been a staggering decision by Brad Scott not to try and find a way to get Zeeble into some sort of form, because I have to know what's going through his head at the moment.
Here's a chance for Zurhaar. He's going to take it and kick it inside the 50. Mason Wood takes the mark. He's going to play. Doesn't want to go for goal. He just centres it up and goes for Turner instead. Ahern rather, and Ahern is able to take the mark. And he's 40 metres out from goal directly in front, Shorey.
Gee, what a perfect... That just shows you're a man who is lacking enormous confidence in his goal kicking, but he is a player of skill who another club would look at. I mean, I don't know. Mason, I don't know whether he works hard enough or whatever.
Ahern comes in. He's directly in front. He slams home the goal for North Melbourne. He's had obviously injury issues. He's had issues off field as well.
He has, but he does get dropped even when they're going through periods if they don't win a game. He's the first one who makes way. But I've seen little things that, and when you see a player of talent, you know that they go in and out of the game because one, they mightn't have the work ethic, or two, the mentality to keep going. But just little things that he does, if he gets his goal kicking right, he just knows how to spin around, find space. And at that time, he lacks confidence. Yeah. No, everybody else would have had a ping at goal from there.
Clubs seem to hang on to key forwards longer, don't they, Lloydie, and just hope that they get right. Obviously, bigger blokes, bigger blokes come on a bit later, but they seem to hang on, as opposed to midfielders, they get a bit longer on the list.
I don't see him as a key forward, though. He's like a Stringer type. Is Stringer a key forward? He's a number 3,
Margin 52 in favour of the Bombers. Kangaroos inflicting the scoreboard late as the ball's still wrapped up in the middle. Davies Uniacke And a tackle from Zach Meriden, another ball up. North fans would love to hear from you after the game. 96900 693 1332. You can give us a call now. We'd love to hear from you on the back of your side's performance today, especially after such a great win last week, and whether or not your team does necessarily deserve to hold on to Good Friday footy. Conversely, Bombers fans, after starting 0-2, now 3 wins on the trot ahead of a massive Anzac Day next Thursday as Higgins puts the Roos inside forward 50. Mason Wood went up for the mark, couldn't bring it down. Zerha paddles it out of bounds in the right forward pocket. Official attendance this afternoon, this is impressive, 48,278, biggest ever for a Good Friday match. And now the question is that enough for North Melbourne to continue hosting this annual event in 2020? Throw in, 30 metres around from goal for the Roos. Higgins, look away handball, shark by Merritt. Just wants to kick it out of defensive 50, and Joe Danaher, in his return to footy, takes the mark at left half back.
Yeah, he's just felt his way into the game. Danaher hasn't reached any great heights, but it's good to see him back out there. A late inclusion, of course. Wants to provide an option again. Calls for it. He might have a jump at this now. He's maybe, I don't know whether he was called out of it that time, but he got the handball away to Parrish. Joe Danaher at ground level. Merritt. His handball doesn't find a target. Parrish goes again. Brown is tackled and lost it. In there, McMillan, and then punched forward by Higgins, only as far as McKenna, who rushes it onto the boot and gives it plenty of airtime. Guelphy went up, had a couple to beat that time. Scott couldn't take it cleanly. Guelphy goes in for a second helping. Hammond's in there also for the Bombers. Redmond also put his head over it. It's right emerging with the Sharon. Away to Hall, ugly stuff again for North Melbourne. And handball to Mr. No One, and the Bombers were able to take it. Merritt, and then Hurley, and then Heppel. He's got it left half back. Treads water for a moment and goes all the way back to Hooker, who takes it on the half volley. A little bit awkward. But
yeah, he looked like he was trying to save his hamstring then.
He gives the handball away, and then Hurley gets it onto the boot. It's a high ball. Cunnington was there, off hands, and we're going to have a boundary throw-in with 24 minutes on the clock in this final quarter, and the Bombers leading well in control by 52 points.
Who makes way next week, Matty? Who would... Zaharakis comes back in, you would think, and Devon Smith.
Yes.
Probably young Hams, maybe not ready for it at the moment, and this man here.
Yeah, and I reckon Bagley is another one who hasn't done enough. Just the 10 disposals for Bagley.
I like his defensive pressure, though.
One man who's done plenty this afternoon is Dylan Shield. That handball lateral to Heppel, and now Andrew McGrath, who's been terrific as well. I don't envy whoever's doing the votes this afternoon. I expect 5 Bombers, but I don't know which 5 as Merritt sends it up toward full forward. Wonderful mark from the debutant in Braden Ham. A mark of the round contender for the Drain Man.
Drain Man.
Thank you very much. And Braden Ham, on debut at just 19 years of age, takes an absolutely splendid mark. Take us through it on the Yarra Valley and Croydon Toyota replay.
Just a sensation, mate. Love the poise of Andrew McGrath. He drew the player, got it to Merritt, who's the best ball user at Essendon by a long, long way. Sat it to the top of the square. He just had his eyes on the ball, used his body well, and they'll get around him here.
Braden Ham might not be dropped.
No.
He might get a game. Let's see if he kicks this. He does. Good on him.
It's his first.
His first goal in league footy. Does it on Good Friday. Tell you what, for the Bombers this afternoon, it's a pretty great Friday. The Bombers 17-14, 116, demolishing the Kangaroos 7-16-58 this final quarter, all with thanks to Collins House Online Investments.
I tell you what, I reckon if Kevin Sheedy was coaching Essendon, he'd play Ham next week. He didn't mind throwing him, not to the walls, but just giving a young bloke a big chance in on big occasion.
I know Scott Lucas and also Blake Carosella debuted on Anzac Day, so exactly what you're talking about. But he's a beautiful user. Ham, I already noticed it in his first game, and that's the reason, I reckon sure you can do the votes today, because I did miss a little bit of footy. I did miss a little bit, but Shield, I'll be interested. He's had 10 inside 50s, but hasn't used it anywhere near as well as,
we get caught up in
Zach
stats.
Merritt. I reckon Heppel's been good. Anyway, and Fantasia was dynamic early.
Here's Higgins in the middle for North Melbourne. He got it on to Davies Uniac, who unloads a big kick top of the goal square, and a very nice mark. Hooker was able to get back and take it. for the Bombers in defence.
This has been their problem all day, North Melbourne. Every time they go long, this was set up at the start by Ambrose going to Brown, and they haven't been able to cope with it.
Hooker up to Guelphy. Can't hang on to the mark. Merritt, little sneaky kick was good. And then Stringer kicks it a little wide of the mark of McGrath, and McGrath just walks it over. We're going to have a throw in front of the interchange gates.
One for you, Shorey. Who from Essendon plays on Dugowie if he's out of the square? Because I know Sard went to Charlie Cameron last week, so I'm not sure Ambrose is right for him. So
Nah.
Yeah.
Not quick enough, is he? I don't think.
Ball thrown back into play. It's just going to be a great build-up. We're going to have a lot of discussion ahead of Anzac Day.
Well, I know it's a big ask, but would Redmond have he wouldn't body on body, I'm not sure, but with speed on him?
You wonder if Hurley or...
Yeah, well, Hurley could do it. Yeah. Hurley could do it, and the other two players become the intercept marks for him like they did today.
For a kick going to Cunnington on the wing.
Sard's too small.
Siren time not too far away. Short one, McMillan. McMillan now puts it inside the 50. Forward pocket. Oh, Mason Wood was flying, couldn't take it. Sard at ground level for Hurley to McKenna. McKenna goes with a clearing kick. Bagley just worked Pittard under the footy and then flicked it back to him. And Pittard said, thank you very much, and goes to the pocket. And Sard was able to double back, get a bit of elevation too, Sard, and take the mark for the Bombers.
Goes all the way back to full back. Adam Sard to Cale Hooker. What a match that's going to be next Thursday at the MCG. Two sides, both 3 and 2. Who would have thought they'd go in level peggings into Anzac Day, given Essendon's start to the season. Ball at centre half back. Shield short.
Look at Merritt run here, boys. Look at Merritt. He was the man who kicked that ball. Oh,
and Redmond's kick just over the head.
You'd be filthy on that.
Merritt.
The work ethic of Merritt then was unbelievable. And Mason Wood should learn by that, because he went with him from the other side of nearly the wing to this side. And that's what great players do with a work ethic in midfield.
His effort this afternoon has been
he's
terrific.
been very good.
Mason Redmond, I haven't seen him live before and been incredibly impressed. Zach Merritt, great. Few question marks for Darcy Parish, and again, he turns it straight over to Sean Higgins. And it's all junk time now as Higgins sends it to the edge of the centre square. Half forward for North Melbourne. Simpkin knocks it forward. It's going to be picked up by Turner. Pittard has had an absolute dog of a day. Dumont in turn to Atley. They're now back at half back, the Kangaroos. Pittard, Dumont, and even in the dying seconds, they can get no run forward, the Kangaroos. It has been a sorry day for North Melbourne. And thankfully for them, it's over. But on a day that belonged to the kids, the Bombers have stood tall and they win 17-14, 116. North Melbourne 7-16-58.
Our boys who play this grand old game are always striving for glory and fame. See the Bombers fly up, up. The other teams they don't fear. They all try their best, but they can't get near as the Bombers fly up.
48,278, a Good Friday record, has seen the Bombers 17-14, 116 obliterate North Melbourne 7-16-58. Orazio Fantasia with 4 goals, 3 to Mitch Brown, 2 apiece to McDonald, Tip and Woody. Stringer, Joe Danaher on return, and Andrew McGrath. While for North Melbourne, just 1 multiple goal kicker, Ben Brown with 2. The Bombers 3 and 2 after 5 rounds.
See the Bombers fly up, up to win the premiership flag. Our boys who play this grand old game are always striving for glory and fame. See the Bombers fly up, up. The other teams they don't fear. They all try their best, but they can't get near as the Bombers fly up.
Big win to the Bombers. They go 3 and 2 after a 0-2 start. Take on Collingwood next Thursday in an Anzac Day blockbuster. We'll try and find out in just a few moments what has been raised from Kick for the Kids today. But Lloydie Shorey, your initial thoughts as we move into our after the game and invite our listeners to call in on 96900 693 13 13 32.
Well, I love the start from the Essendon Footy Club. Just far too quick. They came through the corridor. You know, all the things that we've expected or come to know from the Bombers the last couple of weeks. They were scintillating. was a real arm wrestle for that second quarter, and then that last sort of 6 or 7 minutes, they just blew the game open. That's where they won the game, really. It wasn't their best second half, Essendon, but it was game over at half-time, and obviously the speed, we've touched on it all game. Fantasia, they just didn't have a match-up. He scored the first goal of the game through McMillan panicking through his speed out of the goal square, and that was probably symbolic of the whole game right throughout. Look at Merritt, 39 disposals. Shield, 36. Shield had 866 metres gained. More than double any North Melbourne player. Heppel, I thought, was brilliant off a wing or through the midfield. And then you got McKenna and Sard, who were really good. McGrath with their run. And then Hurley and Hooker, sure he touched on it there before. They just marked absolutely everything. And then, you look at the ball use for North. They were so poor by foot, right across the board. Essendon just blistering. Metres gained. I know it's not a stat that you want to reel out every week, and you don't want to bore people at home, but 4,950 for North, and Essendon were well into the 6,000. So
unbelievable. Just
absolute smash them. Sums up the troubles that North Melbourne have got as a footy team, and I feel for Jack Zeeble now. Him and Heppel, the two captains, are speaking, and Jack Zeeble, the least disposals on the ground, 6 possessions, 4 kicks, 2 handballs, no influence. He hasn't got great speed. He should have been in the centre bounce for periods. He wasn't used there. I'd just love to know why Brad Scott doesn't do it.
You've got to ask the question. Yeah. If I was the captain, I'd be asking the question of my coach. What do you want me to do? What am I supposed to, as a small forward, no impact, and we're getting smashed, and I can't have an impact on the ground. I'm a captain of this club. I need to be somewhere to hopefully help my team have an impact. But he's only one player. They have got some massive issues. I just look at some of the way that they kick the ball. We know what Pittard and those type, Pollock, they play outside and whatever. They got smashed in clearances, and if it wasn't by big numbers, it was just the total purity of it by the Essendon side. They're playing some good footy, but I really worry about who they've played in the last 2 weeks now. We know the Brisbane Lions can be scored against. This mob gets scored against all the time, North Melbourne. They're probably at the lowest peak they've been for lowest part of their game for a while. But the question's got to be asked, what is the style? What do we hang our head on? Ben Brown, to put a young kid, like I said, Cameron Zurhaar into the ruck, are you saving Ben Brown to stop him getting an injury? Well, sometimes bad luck. You've got to just throw your best in there. And ask a young kid, he nearly did his knee in that ruck thing. That could have been disastrous for him and career nearly over. But, they deserved the win. And it was an insipid effort, I thought, by North. They were out tough. They were out skilled. And the Bombers go into next week with a lot of confidence.
96900 693. Outside of Melbourne, 13-32. The Nick Theodosi Prestige Cars open line is now open for you. North Melbourne fans, if you've been listening to the call, if you're leaving Marvel Stadium, your thoughts on your team's performance on the back of that impressive win last week against the Adelaide Crows. It counts for so little now, and the fact that this was such a big game for the Kangaroos. Good Friday football. They got the crowd, 48,278, a record Good Friday attendance, but the team couldn't bring the game. Conversely, Essendon fans would love to hear from them, because after 0-2, they've now won 3 on the trot.
I'm really surprised by North Melbourne, Lordy, to be honest. I thought last year was a pretty good year, a building year for Brad Scott, and then they bring in some players. And I didn't think they'd make the 8, but I thought they'd be competitive. But it's just been a really poor start to the season.
And you couldn't name a good player today, I wouldn't have thought. Dumont and Higgins had the most disposals.
Yeah, they were
Cunnington, but they weren't much. And the worry for them, Matty, in my opinion, who's their best young player?
Yeah.
So Jai Simpkin hasn't come on. He's hardly touched it. 11 disposals today. Yeah. Luke Davies-Uniacke, just as we said, hasn't adjusted to AFL footy. So
where's the run, though?
Where's
no run?
Yeah.
Brian and Paul, we're going to come to you and others in just a few moments, but Tom Morris, you're down in the Essendon rooms, and they're finally in.
Yeah, here they come. This is a very, very happy Essendon rooms. I know they enjoy winning, and it's always going to be jovial, but this seems to have an extra little layer of happiness today, which is great to see. Got 2 young fellas from the Royal Children's Hospital, James and Jack, who will join in the song, which is always good to see. One has a zigzag through his hair, and I said, why do you have a zigzag in his hair? And he said, because it's fashionable. He's 5 years old. It's terrific. I couldn't disagree with that. Here they go, the Essendon song with James and Jack in the middle. And we'll have a chat to Zach Merritt immediately after. We'll get Zach Merritt, fellas, but for the moment, I'll pass back to you.
All right, Tommy, we'll come back to you in just a matter of moments. The final score here at Marvel Stadium this afternoon, 17-14, 116. The Bombers defeating North Melbourne, 7-16-58. So the Bombers exactly doubled the score of the Kangaroos. And just on the Royal Children's Hospital Good Friday appeal, the 7 p.m. update, 7,564,349. Continue to donate. Tom, let's go back to you.
Yeah, we've got Zach. No worries, we're going to have Zach Merritt, but he's been called into a meeting, so we'll get back to you in a sec.
Working beautifully. We'll come back to you in just a moment. You can always tell that we're at the control of the clubs. I'll go into a quick team meeting, and no doubt Lloydie, John Worsfold, probably wants to capitalise on what was a terrific win.
Oh, it's a fantastic win. It's a fantastic win, and Matty Granlund...
He's just having a look at himself,
he lost the plot there for a second.
Yeah,
concentrate, Lloydie. What was the question?
The question was what a wonderful win it was from the Bombers, and obviously round one, the Giants just blew them off. Yeah, they just blew them apart. Good side, the Giants. Round two, St Kilda, I thought, their speed, everything I thought about today's game, they'll put St Kilda away. Full credit to St Kilda, they didn't, but I thought there was a lot of Essendon players who were thinking a lot about what they should be doing, and it's probably taken some time to adjust to what they need to do. Zach Merritt spoke about the expectations on them. They probably thought it would just happen for them. It didn't. They beat Melbourne, smashed obviously the Lions, and now smashed North Melbourne. So what they've got, their weapons in their leg speed and skill, Shorey.
Yep.
They're going to blow a lot of teams away. It's just a game like next week on Anzac Day is going to be a great test. Though.
No doubt. I doubt. The only thing I doubt I've got on this is how good the two sides are. Yeah. Brisbane and Collingwood showed what they did to Brisbane, and North Melbourne has shown they're a bottom four side. Brisbane maybe not, but North are. But yeah, that sets up beautifully for next week. And you're right, their speed factor. I love the way they're playing. And you talked about Ben Rutten, the defensive coach, how they're setting up. That setup. When they walked Amber, I thought it's got to be Heppel, go to Brown, Hurley. or Hooker. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Hurley or Hooker, go to. And as soon as that happened, and it didn't, I thought, you are setting up beautifully here. These two are going to be intercept mark. They couldn't get the ball deep to mark the ball at all, North Melbourne.
Paul, welcome to you.
Thank you very much. North Melbourne have had the same problem for 10 years. They just need to get rid of the coach. The coach is bad, and he has been for 10 years. I've barracked for them for 50 years, and I've never been so disappointed. He's the worst coach we've ever had.
All right, Paul, we will get the reaction of Matthew Lloyd and Tony Shaw to that in a moment, but let's go back to the Essendon rooms, Tom.
Yes, we've got Zach Merritt. That was a pretty enthusiastic meeting behind closed doors just then. Hey, you lost your first two. You've won your last three. Footy's pretty good now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, well... It's an up and down, but I think for us internally it's been very consistent. So win, lose or draw hasn't changed much internally. I think externally a bit of pressure looked to build, but internally it was pretty focused on trying to improve. And it's a bit of a cliche, but that's all we're focusing on.
Today was about more than footy as well. How much was that spoken about before the game?
You had a few kids in the club throughout the week, and they got around meetings and gave us a spray and had some lunch with the boys. So it's obviously bigger than footy, and it was a great day to play and get involved and hopefully raise some real awareness and funds for a great cause.
Hey, Zach, you would have identified pre-game that you could get them for leg speed, and we noticed that very, very early on it was a scintillating first quarter, and then you broke them late in the second quarter. Did you talk about that, what you could do if you can match them on the inside, the spread you can get on the outside against North Melbourne?
Not really. I think that's the way we want to play every week. We want to be good inside and then spread hard both ways, not depending on who we play. So it wasn't something we talked about, obviously, pre-game, but I think that's the way we want to be playing every week.
I was interested in your comments on AFL 360 about the expectations coming into the year, winning 10 of your last 14, and maybe you just thought it would happen. Did you discuss that after the second round, or that was just your own opinion?
That's my own opinion. Yeah. I think it just sort of crept in potentially to my head, but I think as a group we probably just rolled in thinking it was going to happen, and we know how tough footy is, and we realised that round 1, and then round 2 we're a bit off again. So, I think we learned a lot of lessons out of those first 2 weeks.
Hey, Zach, we're thinking about the impact that Ben Rutten's having on that defensive unit, because sitting up here, you're thinking, who would go to Ben Brown? Would it be Michael Hurley, Hooker maybe, but Brown gets on the lead? But you go with Patrick Ambrose, and the setup in front of Patrick Ambrose and Brown with those Hooker and Hurley sort of intercept mark, they just could not get the ball deep because they were scared to kick it in the air, and I thought just a fantastic setup.
Yeah, I don't think we've changed too much from last year. I think Truck's come in and added a few things, but ultimately we trust Paddy Ambrose individually to go to the best forward, and we trust that our system will take care of high balls and allow us to set up really well. So I don't think much has really changed. It's just added a few little things.
And some of your inclusions, Ham did some extremely nice things, and your best mate, Joey, got on the end of a few late in the match as well.
Yeah, I think when young players come into debut, it gives the side a real sense of energy and a bit of excitement. So to see him come in was fantastic, and then obviously Joey as well for what he contributed in his first game back in 12 months. I thought was super.
Hey, Zach, you would have done it before. What's your best beat test level? Because I saw your work in that last quarter, and you didn't get hit. The target came out of the back up. You ran from one wing to the other. This was the last minute of the game, and ran your opponent off, and the ball went out of bounds in front of you, which is a bit frustrating. But what is your best beat?
It's not probably my strength. I think my best is only 13 or 14. So, I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore.
hey, Zach, you obviously get to play in Anzac Day in a week's time. How did you enjoy Good Friday footy? It seemed to be a pretty good atmosphere inside Marvel today.
Yeah, we're so fortunate at Essendon to play in some really big games, and obviously for some great causes. So another one today, Good Friday was awesome, but obviously looking forward now to Anzac Day as well. It's a great cause and a great game to be a part of.
Well, it doesn't get any bigger than Anzac Day on the home and away fixture, and with both sides 3-2, it's going to be a ripper next week. Appreciate your time and congratulations.
Thanks, boys. Cheers.
Zach Merritt from the Bombers joining us on 3AW Footy. The Bombers win us this afternoon by 58 points. Just touch on our caller, Paul. Get rid of the coach. Granted, Brad Scott held them to a couple of preliminary finals. Is Brad Scott going to be in the gun over the next 72 hours, given this?
Not to get rid of the coach, but it's pretty ordinary how they're playing. They've been perennial finalists for a long time. When people said they weren't going to do it, they get in and, okay, we know they haven't been good enough to finish it off, but the way their style, he'll be under pressure just for the style and what was happening with the lack of moves, I thought, in the game today. But coaches can have off days, but I just cannot, I don't know, Matty, I cannot identify what they're trying to achieve with this style of play. And they've only got one key forward at the moment is good enough, and when that's shut down, they just don't score.
Yeah, I think they do have to take the game on. It's just not helter-skelter. I think St Kilda have adjusted this year. They were going too hard and turning it over and being burnt on the rebound last year. They've now got a really good balance. And North, on the flip side of that, just too conservative, Matty. And if you are slow, well, you've got to get the ball moving quicker to make up for that.
Brian, welcome to you.
Tony, at the end of the first quarter, the start of the the second quarter, you called how Zeeble and Brown were left in the forward pocket doing nothing and all the attacking, and they need someone. I listened to you boys broadcast all day, and then the last 10 minutes I put on the television while listening to you, and the two boys are still there. So it might be time for the coach to get a stop and go sign and get a job for the North Melbourne Council.
Well, I think Jack Zeeble is being underused at the moment. If the ball's not getting down there, he's more talented to be sitting in the goal square when they're not getting enough long delivery in there. And one-on-one, he just didn't have any space today. He's a good player, but he's no superstar. So, this is the captain. I just think let the captain have his head now and then. And there was plenty of time for him to go in the midfield for 7 minutes. And if he can't turn it around, he can't turn it around. But you can't do a lot where he's playing down there.
There's a period there, I think Tom Morris, where about an 8 or 9 minute period where there were no goals and the runner couldn't get on. So even if the coach wanted to make a change, but sometimes it is the captain himself, Matty, that can make the call to go, I might throw myself into the midfield.
Yeah, I just wonder if they feel that, between Cunnington, just the one...
They'd be real slow.
Too slow.
Cunnington, Zeeble, you've got obviously Jed Anderson, Dumont. They're all one pace. Sean Higgins is the only class player. Pollock's an outsider. We've touched on Atley, just doesn't do enough he's nearly 200 games, Atley, or maybe even just about be there, but unfortunately, they're just one pace. Paul Ahern, one pace, 9 disposals.
Yeah, so see, the modern game too, and you called it very early, Cunnington, as in, when you have a look at that, he's had 82 metres gained. 82 metres gained out of 29 possessions going at 83. So we know he handballs the ball a lot. But 82 metres gained, that's like... I'm trying to get an evaluation of where you would be in the game. When you talk to, Zach Merritt's had 359. Shields had 866. And you know what? I haven't put Dylan Shield in the votes. He's had 866. Which is an amazing amount of votes.
Hold on, bury the headline. You didn't put Dylan Shield in your votes.
No. I don't get caught.
You don't think he was one of the top 5 players in the game?
He was a very good player.
But he wasn't one of the top 5 on the ground today.
Well, not in my eyes, because in other areas, you know what, you win a game in a number of areas of the ground, not just one area. He doesn't kick the ball well. He did improve at the end, but at the end, to me, he does a lot of chip and runs, and to me, he does turn the ball over. So I think there was better players on the ground. Like, I'll tell you the 5, and we'll work it out, and I'll tell you why I've done it, okay?
Before you hear the 5, Lloydie, would you have given him a vote?
I look forward to hearing who the 5 are.
Yeah.
I gave him 5 against Melbourne when a lot of people thought he didn't use the ball well, because I thought his speed away from Melbourne was so good that... And people criticised me. I thought, I'll wait for the coaches' votes, and he got plenty of coaches' votes. But on this one, I didn't think he was as good as he was against Melbourne. So I reckon there could be 5 players backing up Shorey that were better than him.
All right, Shorey, you've scrapped Dylan Shield despite his performance this afternoon. Build him up. The votes for the 3AW Footballer of the Year.
Now, no Dylan Shield, no Dyson Heppel, and no Cale Hooker. So what I've done here is I've given 1 to Patrick Ambrose. If someone was going to win the game for North Melbourne, it had to be Benny Brown, I reckon, kicking 5 or 6. And they probably mightn't have still won anyway, because he would have done it off his own bat. He ended up kicking 2 goals, and they were late give-me's when the game was done and dusted. Ambrose held him to those 2 goals, and then he's kicked a goal himself. So defensively, he did his job and had a lot of help. But that's one way of putting it. Orazio Fantasia, he's a superstar, this bloke. He's kicked the 4 goals. Does go in and out of games, but that's because he plays deep out of the square and the ball mightn't get there for a period of time. He's just a star. I gave 3 to Mitch Brown. I thought Mitch Brown's work ethic was unbelievable. He's kicked the 3 goals. He's ended up having, 20 possessions for a third man. 3 goals, 3 he's kicked. So, and I just thought he was brilliant. Also 6 goals assist. So that's pretty good for an effort and 7 marks. I gave 4 to Michael Hurley. He's just become a very good defender. He had the easy task, I reckon, today. He was asked to do probably the second or third in, and the setup of that defensive unit for Essendon was just brilliant. And I gave 5 to Zach Merritt. Now, you want to throw Dylan Shield and Heppel in there and maybe a 1 or 2, I would have done it. They wouldn't have got more than 3 votes with me anyway. But Zach Merritt, 39 possessions, but... He's clean. He had, 16 contested possession when the most others was 10 in the side. So he gets the ball in the hard area. He clears 7. He had inside 56. He needs to hit the scoreboard a bit more, I would think. But I just love that. He's got a great balance. And you saw his work ethic that last minute. It was incredible. And that's why he's the star.
And that's got to be the most pleasing thing for John Worsfold tonight, the fact that there was such a spread of players pulling their load, and now they go into Anzac Day with just so many options.
Don't get caught up with stats, Matty. Shane, don't get caught up with...
I know my goal kicking's good, but it wasn't as good, as his.
No, I was talking the other Matty, not the commentator Matty. Not the
and the thing about Merritt is he was getting tagged a lot. Remember, he struggled with the tag. Now with Dylan Shield coming in, you got to know who to go to now with obviously Andrew McGrath coming good as well.
Hey, Tom Morris, I know you're still down in the Essendon rooms. Let's go back to you because you've got the injury report with thanks to our good mates at Arnold, Thomas and Becker. They are your injury law specialists. You will speak to a lawyer, not a call centre. It didn't seem too bad on the injury front.
Yeah, not too bad, Shane. We'll start with North Melbourne, though. Paul Ahern had a finger injury in the second half. He came back on, but he was in a fair bit of discomfort, and he actually went back down to the rooms a couple of times to get it re-strapped. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out during the week and for the rest of the year, because as you know, finger injuries are notoriously difficult to get over if you don't have any layoff. But Essendon, they'll be pretty happy. The main issue is McDonald, Tip and Woody, who had a bad corky earlier on in the game. I think Lloydie might have called it upstairs. He had that heavily strapped, and then after the game, he had it really iced up. Now, the issue here is it's only a 6-day break, so corkies normally don't keep people out of games unless you're Jeremy Howe last year, but this is only a 6-day break, and he seemed to be in a fair bit of discomfort for the second half, although he did play on while he was warm, which is good to see. And Joe Danaher, he's absolutely fine, and he will be cherry ripe for Anzac Day in 6 days' time, which is good news for Essendon and also good news for Essendon fans.
Tom, great work today. Appreciate your efforts. We'll hear you across the weekend. Our injury report for Arnold, Thomas and Becker. Call today to speak with a personal injury specialist. Round 5 continues in about an hour from now. West Coast taking on Port Adelaide. We'll bring you score service of that match. Anyone tipping Port Adelaide?
No.
I didn't think so. Massive Saturday of football coming up on 3AW from midday tomorrow. Footy preview with Tim Lane, Jimmy Bartell, Lee Matthews and Matthew Lloyd before we head to Canberra. I'm going up for that one alongside Brad Hardy for the Giants and Fremantle. We all Giants?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, Giants. Other games tomorrow. Melbourne and St Kilda, the twilight clash.
Yeah,
I've got Demons.
I'm tipping the Saints in that one.
Yeah, I'll go the Saints.
Demons for me.
Yeah, I agree. And Matty, you'll be back here tomorrow night. Richmond taking on the Sydney Swans. And, well, Sydney need to give a yelp, don't they?
They do. I think I'm going with the Tigers, though, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sydney calls an upset there at Marvel tomorrow night.
Yeah.
No, I'm going Richmond.
Richmond.
Yeah, I've got Richmond tomorrow. Gentlemen, pleasure working with you on it's been a very special day. It's been a lot of fun. Matt Granlund, Tony Shaw, Matthew Lloyd, to Tom Morris and Mick Warner earlier, to the team behind the scenes and back in the studio. Thank you for your work. The Good Friday appeal continues right up until midnight. The number you need to know is 1300 277 325. 1300 appeal. You can also go online to goodfridayappeal.com.au. You can also get online to see the video of when we spoke to young Jack Neal and his mother Larissa pre-game. It was a lovely story and lovely of him to come in. He's a big Essendon fan. He was incredibly chuffed when he got to see Matthew Lloyd, and that video is available via our Twitter and Facebook pages. Here at Marvel Stadium today on this Good Friday, Essendon defeated North Melbourne by 58 points. 17-14, 116 to the Kangaroos, 7-10-58. 3AW footy back tomorrow from midday.